Welcome back to Focus on Manufacturing. We've been having a conversation here about the challenges in the industry, the opportunities in the industry, and it's certainly an incredibly important sector here in central Massachusetts. At a recent summit at the DCU Center, the governor spoke, and he mentioned that there are 7,000 firms in the state that are manufacturers, and there are about 250,000 people working in those industries. However, in the next 10 years, over 100,000 of those 250,000 workers will be retiring or leaving the workforce. And so that represents both a significant challenge for those employers and a significant opportunity for people looking to grow their careers in this very interesting space. So to start with that conversation, let's get right down to sort of what's happening at Saint-Gobain. How do those numbers that are from the state, you'd mentioned earlier, Nicole, how many employees you have, both in your division and in the company overall. Do you see that kind of shift in the workforce where those baby boomers are also leaving your firm at about that rate?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're losing a large number of people in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years associated with retirement. Our biggest gap is in the 15-year experience. We're starting to bring people in now in the 5-year experience gap. So it is really critical for us to grow that pipeline of employees for manufacturing. So we're doing a large number of things. We're partnering with the local vocational schools especially, so Blackstone Valley, Worcester Technical High School, to try and build in machinists. We're also trying to partner with the local communities and teach people what it is about manufacturing that's so enticing. It's a career, it's not just a job. There's a lot of opportunities within the company to grow and to have a job either from straight out of high school or coming out of college or even a PhD. So it's critical for us for people to see that there's opportunities, because we will have a very significant gap in the very near future that we have to close. And I think there's a lot of opportunities people don't know about.
I agree they don't know about it, and I think there's, that's sort of why there's a real effort from the industry, from individual firms to kind of get the word out. Bill, how about at your company? How do those sort of statewide numbers reflect when you look at your workforce today and where it needs to be in, let's say, 10 years from now?
We're experiencing the same projection of key employees that will be retiring, particularly over the next 5 years. And we need to fill the gap because in our profession, it takes a number of years to really get proficient at what you're doing, to be a highly skilled machinist. So we need to start early. And we're not waiting. At Lampen, we're reaching out to all sectors of the community to try to entice young people to think about manufacturing. As I mentioned earlier, I go to the high schools and the middle schools, and I'm speaking to 8th graders about potential careers in manufacturing, and I find that
I'm trying to think what I knew about my future in 8th grade.
Well, I just want to expose them to it.
Yeah.
It's important that they understand it, not that they're going to really decide what they're going to do at that age.
Right.
But I find that as they get into high school, I would like to know that they're predisposed with manufacturing as well as service careers, and make that decision based on that. And I also offer them the opportunity to come in to visit Lampen and possibly take a position as an intern in our company. What we've decided to do is to help people with their skill levels. So we will take somebody who shows a real interest in either manufacturing or making something, and we will take them through many different levels of experience in manufacturing and machining to help them develop that skill further based on what their capabilities are. So you really don't have to have a lot of the base education that I think people think you need to have. We will train you, but you need to be very interested in it, and you need to be excited about the opportunity to learn. And we've done that already. We've brought young students in who've had no experience whatsoever, and they're progressing extremely well.
That's terrific. So Bill mentioned internship programs, and it sounds like you have them even at the high school level. I'm more familiar with it, obviously, at the college level where it can be for credit. does Saint-Gobain also do a lot with internships and sort of that development?
We do, yeah. So we have the co-op programs through the technical high schools where we do bring them in high school. They do a week on, a week off in our facility where they get the opportunity to learn. We do the traditional internships as well, whether it be in college or even in graduate students, especially in our R&D programs where they're trying to learn very specific skills. But in the manufacturing level, we absolutely do bring in individuals who come in at the high school level. We get them exposure. A lot of times we're promoting children of people who worked with us to try and give them that pipeline of what does mom and dad do and how can they have a career, the same longevity of a career that their parents had in the facility as well. So we try to encourage that length because Norton Company, prior to Saint-Gobain owning it, was a very family-oriented company, and we try to do that same tenure. So we have a group of people who are bringing their kids up through the organization as well.
Interesting. You know, in visiting your website just yesterday, I was looking, and one of the things highlighted was a woman who'd actually been with the company for 65 years. I think it was a different facility, but
in Illinois,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, which is great to see, and that sort of just speaks to that kind of continuity. We've talked about sort of that not needing significant formal education and getting training. Can we talk about sort of the layers at which sort of folks can enter in to the workforce? So we've got that someone coming out of, whether it's a technical high school background or not, but an interest in sort of making things. So there's room for that person to start there. Then you've got sort of folks with a BA or just a general 4-year college grad and even graduate school. So you've got folks at different levels. So what do those jobs sort of look like? And then I want to also kind of talk about the money because the manufacturing industry is actually known for having pretty high wages above many other sectors that these folks might be looking at careers in. But sort of back to the sort of entry point. So we've got someone who can enter the business and get training out of high school. How does that work at those 3 stages?
Sure. So someone coming straight out of high school does just need to be able to work with their hands, know essentially how to make something. We look for people perhaps that rebuild cars or motorcycles in their spare time, even culinary arts students who know how to read a recipe, who are familiar with how to follow instructions and have precision in how they weigh things, can come in and have that high school career, whether they start on first or second shift. Then we're able to basically give them an education afterwards through tuition reimbursement. They're able to work their way up through the organization and be flexible with their hours in order to do that. So at the high school level, they're right out of high school able to do it just by knowing and being willing to work and learn how to make something. Because again, no one learns how to make grinding wheels in high school or and even in college. So in that sense, they're able to come through with that.
Right.
And then as they go into their college degree, as I did, I came in as an entry-level engineer and I had to learn essentially the technology. You don't learn this in college either. So it's on-the-job training, similar to what Bill said. That's how they come through.
And one of the benefits, and when someone always looks at a career, one of the questions is what else comes with it, right? Healthcare and other things. And you just kind of mentioned casually, training, significant training that can happen subsidized by the company. And so whether that's, less formal or more formally through school, that sounds like a significant advantage that you're really offering. Does that get highlighted in your marketing for recruits?
Absolutely. I mean, my entire master's was paid for by the company through WPI. So it was one of those situations where I was able to advance my career and use that benefit to my advantage through the company. So it's certainly benefits that we highlight to people and we try to take advantage of as much as possible.
And obviously Bill Limpin's smaller than Saint-Gobain, but it sounds like you're doing a lot of training and helping folks develop themselves.
Yes, we're totally committed to the development of our employees, particularly the young interns who show interest. The one thing we do require is that being an intern, you have to show the interest. You have to want to learn. You have to want to be involved. And you have to be interested enough and inquisitive enough to ask questions because in our environment, in our culture as an ESOP, each one of our employee owners has a vested interest in sharing their knowledge with each other, particularly the more senior ones with the younger ones, because as they retire, they're still owners of the company. Right. And they still benefit from the company ownership. So the company has to maintain its profitability. And what a better way to do that than to have the people running it who are people that you trained at one point in time.
So everybody's all in.
That's right. Everybody's got a piece of the responsibility and share a piece of the pie. So having said that, we'll bring them in, and their first challenge will be to sort of learn the environment. You know, what is this manufacturing thing all about? There's things that you can see in our plant, and there are also things that you can't see. For instance, all of the information flow. That's extremely important. They need to understand that information flow, all the engineering information that goes on in the company. And they do a lot of shadowing for the first year or so. And we'll start them off with simple hand skills. And then, of course, they have to be over 18 years old to be able to operate any machines. But once they reach that point, we'll be teaching them simple machine operation. And then it gets you know, a little bit more complex. They'll eventually get to operate CNC machines. And then there's a degree, there's several degrees of complexity around the CNC machines until they become a master machinist.
You know, we had a chance to talk to John Killam at the recent manufacturing event, and John's the president of Mass MEP, and he also had a lot to say about those training programs. Let's hear from John.
Our programs are applied across the state, as well as central Massachusetts. And our program is developed to bring the non-technical folks, the non-manufacturing indoctrinated folks, into a program and skill them up from a level of entry-level employee, achieving a certification, to a machine operator, being certified, right through to a CNC operator, and again, receiving some type of credential. These programs can be then brought into the QCC, for example, the QCC, Quinsigamond Community College environment, where those credits are applied towards college credits, and those folks can then follow along the QCC path and earn an associate's degree in manufacturing technologies. So what we're building is a pyramid of talent, the lower level being the broader aspects of manufacturing training, the entry level, right up through the associate's degree, preparing people for the engineering positions, supervisory positions within manufacturing.